In the previous video, you saw how to create shell scripts in Magento to leverage a command line interface and interact with your Magento application. However, in this video, I'm going to show you how you can bootstrap Magento to run in any type of PHP script. So let's get started. You can see that I have another project in tandem with my Magento application now. So in my other project folder, I'm writing some type of report. And this report, for instance, is something that's going to be run ad hoc. Maybe it's a request that came in from my accounting department and they needed me to build a really quick report to just see all of the order information. And all I want to know is who's ordering and what their grand total for the order is. So I can return that information pretty easy using procedural PHP scripting. I'm just going to iterate over a collection of orders and print out comma-separated values, essentially. So in order to get this kind of information, I could have written a basic SQL query. This example is very simple. However, there's a lot of functionality of Magento that if you wanted to report against that or write any type of procedural script against that, you would probably pull your hair out writing, countless join queries just to do something seemingly simple using the Magento object-oriented methods that they provide for you. So in order to gain access to standard Magento classes and all the object-oriented goodness that Magento provides out of the box, we need to do something that I call bootstrapping Magento into our own external script. So that's where all the code above line 5 comes in. So we're requiring a new file I created called bootstrap.php, and then we can initialize our app in a couple of different ways. So let me first show you how bootstrap.php works. So this is a new file that I created in my Magento root folder, and bootstrap.php is inspired by the goings-on in index.php. So if you pull them up alongside, you can see index.php is doing all of what bootstrap.php is doing and then some. So in index, we're including the proper Magento base files, and making sure things exist, and if they don't exist, pushing you through the installation process. So I trimmed out a couple of those things in the Bootstrap file to make it simpler. So all Bootstrap is doing is finding the necessary Magento includes, pulling them in, requiring the core file system, setting developer mode, and then initializing the app. So it's not doing anything with routing, it's not running the store front end, it's just doing pretty much the bare minimum to get access to the Magento code base. There's a couple other files in the top level of the Magento root that are doing similar things. cron.php is setting up bare minimum code base so that you can run scheduled events, and get.php is doing something with static files. So there's a couple other examples out of the box in Magento that you can take a peek at to kind of glean the inner workings of how Magento bootstraps itself. But our bootstrap.php file is essentially a bare bones approach at getting access to the Magento codebase. So you can see that on line 55 at the end of my bootstrap process, I'm initializing the app. And that app function is declared in the mage.php file. This is like the main include point for Magento. And that app function here, you can pass it a code. By default, it's going to use your default store. So in our multi-site store environment, it's going to take whatever the default is. And then it initializes things. So if we're calling Mage app here, we're going to be loading our default store. In our report, however, say we wanted to just go with the admin, I would say mage init admin. And I have this line of echo code here to show you how this works. When I run my report, you can see I've already run it a few times. It tells me what store I'm in. I'm in the admin. So that's cool. I can actually load different stores. So if I didn't want the admin, if I wanted just a single store, I could say whatever store this is. I'll probably get an error or something because store X doesn't exist. Right, I got some kind of error. But if I use the default store, I'm going to get my list of orders from that default store. So hopefully this makes sense for you. This is actually a quickly access information, integrate, and possibly change the behavior of a Magento installation. So let's recap. First, we took a look at how Magento loads itself in its own index.php and cron.php file. Then we wrote our own bootstrap.php file in the Magento root, which loads the bare bones of a Magento application. Finally, in order to load Magento in our external script, we need to include our bootstrap file and then make a call to the mage init function. This is going to give us access to our store. Coming up in the next video, I'll be showing you another advanced technique that you can use to debug Magento with the PHP extension called xdebug, so stay tuned.